What's up, guys? So I'm gonna share my testimony. I did this about 2 years ago now, and it was really long, but I wasn't really confident in it. And so my testimony is this. I always grew up in the church. Like, my grandma always took me to church, so I had like a knowledge of Jesus, but I just really never lived out my faith. My dad was never in the picture, or he was in and out of the picture, up until I think it was my kindergarten year. Actually, no, I don't remember. It was like sometime in elementary school, but he set himself on fire one day. My mom and dad was always fighting, but my dad one day set himself on fire, and the situation was my mom wanted him out of the house, but he didn't want to leave. And he was sleeping on the couch at this time. So then, like, he had like beers and just drunk, and yeah, my mom wanted him out of the house, and he wouldn't leave the garage. And then so what happened was my mom, as he tried to get back into the house, but my mom overpowered him and kept him out the house. But he was still in the garage at the end of the day, and so my mom took us to school, and my mom was taking us to school, and I was getting into the car to get on the bus stop, or to go to the bus stop, and then my dad told me to come here, and then I like turned to him, but my mom was like, "No, get in the car." And then I don't know, it was just like, this is an encounter of God that I know for a fact. I just felt like a hand direct me towards my mom, and it was so like, it was the first time I ever felt the presence of God, but I didn't realize that at the time that was the presence of God. But then so I'm on the bus and we just see fire trucks and police cars coming, and the bus driver says, "What's going on?" And in my head I was like, I knew it was my mom and dad, and I didn't know. And then that day at school was a blur, really. And then I got home, saw my grandma's car. She lived about 2 hours away. Saw my grandma's car, and I was like, that's weird. So we go inside. My mom's are already crying, and then they sit me, my brother, and my sister down, my mom and my grandma, and tell us that my dad set himself on fire. And my brother and sister start crying. So naturally, I just start crying. I was about first grade or kindergarten at the time, and I really didn't understand what it meant, but I just knew that my dad, like, he was hurt. So then I don't know how long ago, I mean long past, but I get my mom's phone, and I look on her cameras, and I see a just white plain figure, and I knew that was my dad. And my mom, she was like, "That's not your dad," but in my heart I knew that was my dad. And I was a young guy. I was super young. But then my mom picked up 2 jobs, and around 4th grade, I think it was, this guy named Anthony comes into the picture. And you got it. I was so used to my mom crying that when she was laughing, she started to laugh, and I thought she was crying. So then I met that guy named Anthony before my mom was ready for me to meet him. But yeah, he was in the picture in 5th grade. I was so upset, and and by the way, I saw my dad sell a gun, or have a gun, and like, when I was super young. He told me not to tell my mom, but I told her, and that caused a big fight. I don't know why. I know why it caused. Well, yeah. Anyways, um, fast forward to 5th grade. That happened, and I almost bullied this kid to death, and I just felt so bad about myself, and I knew I had to go to Jesus. I don't know what led me to Jesus. Just I guess the prior knowledge of Jesus that led me to him. But yeah, I was just like, "Jesus, I need you." And I started to read my Bible. I started to pray a lot more. But and I was angry. I was just super angry at the world. I used to get into fights. I remember my first day at my 5th grade school. I beat up, or not my first day, but a few weeks in, I beat up this kid, and I was just super angry. And fast forward, and I was just looking for acceptance, and I started looking for acceptance in girls, and when that didn't work, I just became super angry. I was looking, that started the trend of looking for acceptance in girls. And yeah, let me think. So I moved to Green Valley before my 6th grade year, and I found a couple friends in my neighborhood later on that. But yeah, found a couple friends in my neighborhood. Still angry though. Still like, I don't know. Came to this school. I came to Green Valley North Middle School, and it was just so weird. And still angry. Probably got into a couple fights my 6th grade year, but 7th grade is really where I just started to lash out, and I got into like 2 fights then. And 8th grade year, summer before 8th grade year, I got into pornography, but I got introduced to pornography. And I was just drinking. I was claiming to be Christian, but at the same time, I wasn't. Like, I was a lukewarm. Like, I was drinking when I went over to my friend's house, and yeah, watching pornography. That issue still follows me, but just later on, more on that. But yeah, before my 8th grade, going into 9th grade year, actually my 9th grade year, I started to hang out with the wrong people and just looking for acceptance in the wrong people, and I almost committed suicide, because that was the worst year of my life, because I got bullied. My freshman year, I got bullied, and then I started to vape, and I was just so lost and just broken, and just, I had nowhere to go. And I was still reading my Bible, but I wasn't like following Jesus. Like, I would say I was following Jesus, but then smoking and just getting bullied at school, it was just like I didn't want to live anymore, and I almost made a irreversible decision. But then me and Jackson started to get a closer my 10th grade year. But yeah, thank God I didn't commit suicide. I think I called Logan, my friend Logan, and he stayed up with me, and that day I didn't commit suicide, but I didn't tell my mom. But yeah, fast forward to 10th grade. I was started to watch church online, and I was just like, okay, but I was starting to get back into my faith my 10th grade year, and I started to watch church online, and then I was just like, this guy, I'm not gonna mention his name, but he started to say questionable things, and God just really convicted me that I needed to get into a church. And around this time, I was cutting off some of the friends, or me and my friends who I used to drink with and smoke with. We started to have issues. So at that time, I was just so lonely. And then I played basketball at the church I go to now, Crown Point, with Jackson and Logan and this guy named Jacob. Yeah, I played basketball, and then God just convicted me to talk to Jackson about the church. And so I went one Sunday, loved it. Went one Wednesday, loved it, and then I just started to go, and I just jumped right in. And this was 2023, that school year, like before 2024. So I was a sophomore in high school, and yeah, I started to go to church consistently, and I went to winter retreat, which is a retreat just for our church. This was January, actually December. Actually, no. So hold up, let me back up. I didn't cut off the fringe yet, but in December I smoked at their house, and then January 1st, New Year's Eve, I smoked with my brother and one of my cousins, and then January something, I think it was like 20 something, I went to the retreat just for our church, and I don't know, something shifted. I found a community, and I loved it. For the first time, I just found a community, and of believers I could just be around. And and then the second night of the retreat, actually the first night, this guy named Andy Australia preached, and his story just resonated with me and just hit me like a ton of bricks. And his story just hit me like a ton of bricks. And he had the same exact story as me, and not the same exact, but his dad wasn't in the picture, and then his brother got into the wrong stuff. And if you know me, that is exactly what happened to me. And it's just like, I was not going down. He made a point. I think he made a point. Was like, I'm not going down that same route that my brother and my dad did. And I just saw myself in him, and I just started to bawl, and I went to the altar, and then for the first time ever, I spoke in front of a crowd. And if you know me, I was a shy just kid that just didn't talk, and God is using me to speak now. But I just started to break down and just cry, and just I gave Andy a hug. And then I don't know if it was this night or the next night, we prayed we went off by ourselves and just prayed for somebody. I chose my brother because I want to see my brother. My brother is one of my best friends, and I just want to see him come to know Jesus. So I prayed for him, and then not even 5 minutes later, he texted me, and he was like, do you mess with the event that you're at? And I was like, yeah, I really do. And because that was my first ever event, not home or like away. And then he said, I love you. And that was the first time in like ages that he said that he loved me. And I just broke down, and I shared that at the altar. And then everybody gathered around me, laid hands on me, and prayed for my brother. And that's how I knew I was home. And then the crazy miracle about that is March 27th. That's when I got baptized, and that is my brother's birthday. And that was so amazing. And that was just, I didn't realize it at the time, but now that was a miracle. And then I just started to preach around at my school. Actually, after I got back from that winter retreat, I just started to preach in the hallways of my school because I just couldn't keep what Jesus did inside. I had to shout it out, and I had to tell a lot of people. And that was amazing thing that God did. And yeah, but I up until that point of February, it was February, I was struggling with pornography, but then I watched this video, and it put the wrong idea of God in my head. It was I started to fear going to hell instead of respecting God not enough to not sin. And I didn't sin. I didn't watch pornography for like months. But then I fell back into it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm going to hell, and just had the wrong idea of God for months upon months upon months. And then I went on a mission trip to Milwaukee, and then I was just like, I need to get rebaptized because, man, I've been struggling with pornography and lust, and that wasn't the right idea at all. And I just felt condemned, and I just kept feeling condemned, and I still struggle with that issue of condemnation and not knowing that's from God, but I'm getting a lot better at it. But junior year happened, and I'm still in my faith, and I go to this thing called flight training, and it changed my whole life. It changed how I study the word, and I finished with it this year, but it's changed the way I like studied my word. And then last year, my old youth pastor named Jeremy Wyatt and his family, I was super close. Jackson was part of that. That's his dad, and I was super close to that family. They lived in my neighborhood, and they left for another pastoral role, and God was calling them to, and I'm so thankful that they left. But I just felt so alone and just broken. And I remember last year at youth camp, I was just crying, and just broken and down in tears because I was just like, oh my God, Jeremy was holding me, and just I was just so emotional. And then I just remember their son, not Jackson, but his name's Jet, and it was the last night of youth camp, and we were hugging, and he said, you know, Jacoby, they used to call me the amazing Jet. And then I don't know what led me to say that. God led me to say this, but it was like, um, he was, I said, he said, I said, you're an amazing young man. Now you're an amazing young man. And he just broke down and just started to hug me, and he was just crying. And after they left, I was just distanced from everybody. I was in pain. I was mad. I was frustrated. I was angry at God. I was bitter. And then when the seniors left this last fall, I was just so mad. I was angry, and I started to distance myself until I found a community in flight training. God told me so it's 2 nights. It's a Monday night and a Tuesday night. And most of my senior friends who we just graduated, they went Tuesday. So God convicted me to go Tuesday. They kept telling me to switch, but I was like, nah, I like Mondays. But then I was just like, okay, you know what? I'll give Tuesday a shot. So I switched to Tuesday, and my community grew bigger, and it was a community that I needed. And this year was so challenging. It was days where I just didn't want to get off the couch, days where I almost killed myself this year again. And it was just because I was just so broken, and just lust and pornography was hitting me left and right, and I just felt like a failure, and I just felt like I should be past it. And God was just like, Jacoby, it's not your timing, it's my timing. Now today, actually these past few weeks have been so challenging. These 2 mentors of mine are leaving the church and for a youth pastor role in Arkansas. And if this was last year, I would have been destroyed. I wouldn't have known what to do. And today, unfortunate situation happened where me and this friend, we made an agreement that we're gonna give each other space, and because it's fair to both. It wouldn't be fair to either of us if we just kept hanging out like we were and talking like we were. Sorry about my, actually, no. But anyways, yeah. But yeah, after that, that really broke me today, and it was a really tough day. But God got me through it, and He's faithful. He was faithful today, and yeah, today was a really challenging day, but again, God got me through it. And if this was last year, I wouldn't have known what to do. I would have been destroyed. But since I've been through it, God prepared my heart, and He allowed me to go through it. And oh yeah, to add on to a little part of my testimony, I had to forgive my dad yesterday. Truly, I was just angry at him. I found out a few things about him that just really pissed me off. It set me over the edge, and I just said something that I shouldn't have said, not to him, but about him. And I had to check my heart posture. I had to be like, I have to forgive him. I don't want this in my heart. And I really had to forgive him. I had to sit down with God and just be like, God, I forgive him. And yeah. So God's been working on my heart still, and my testimony isn't done. It's an ongoing testimony. It's an everyday testimony. I struggled some days to get into my word, but God has been so faithful. He's been so just loving towards me and just patient with me, even in the midst of my trials and tribulations. So yeah. There's so many more things I could say about my testimony, like how I got a scholarship to the school of my dreams. I only applied for one college, and I got into it, and praise God, and that's where I know I'm going to Texas this fall, to Nelson University. And just that whole situation is just a miracle in itself. And God's just been faithful, and I have witnessed His faithfulness throughout my life. There's so many times I could have died, so many times I could have killed myself, but God wanted me alive for a purpose, and I know that purpose is to know Him and to make Him known. And I will be going into youth pastoring in the fall. I'll be going to school for youth pastoring, and I will become a youth pastor and a youth evangelist. And I just can't wait to see what God has for me in the future. And yeah, that's my testimony. Thank you for listening. And God is faithful. I don't deserve a God like him. I have witnessed his faithfulness. Yeah.